Hello, my name is C. Stephen Blue, and I am a local poet and publisher in Eugene, Oregon. The program you're about to see is an interview of me done on the Authors Forum with host Veronica Esagui. The Authors Forum interviews writers and publishers making a difference in the literary community in the Pacific Northwest. During the interview, you will see me reading and performing some of my unique brand of performance poetry with a focus on my newest book, SOS, Songs of Sobriety, A Personal Journey of Recovery. This book relates the journey of the first 10 years of the recovery process and is based on my own experience with over 27 years in recovery. I will also be reading and performing pieces from my other 3 books of poetry during the interview. I am a street poet, a lyrical performance poet. My poetry has poured out of me since I was a young boy and relates to the streets of the big city where I grew up and to the rock and roll music that was so prominent in the 1960s. My poetry stands at the crossroads of poetry and music. When I read and perform my poems, I like to accompany myself with music and hand drums. As well as being a poet, I'm also a publisher, videographer, and organizer and host of many poetry events. I will be hosting a new series called The Poetry Corner, right here on CTV29. Following my interview, I will give you more information about the upcoming series and contact information, so be sure to stay tuned at the end of this program.
The Authors Forum exists to inspire success. We will talk with authors and others in the publishing industry to bring you essentials and advice. Dr. Veronica Esagui is your host for Authors Forum.
Welcome to the Authors Forum. I'm your host, Dr. Veronica Esagui, and my guest today is C. Stephen Blue, poet, publisher, musician, artist, performer, and videographer. C. Stephen Blue, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Hi, Veronica.
So you have been called the last hippie poet of Woodstock generation. Why?
Well, I think it's because I'm a lyrical poet. I call myself a lyrical performance poet. My poetry is unlike a lot of the modern poetry. It stands more at the crossroads of poetry and music. And much of my sensibilities come from the streets of the 1960s when I grew up, and the rock and roll that I grew up with.
Right.
A lot of poets who are lyrical poets will relate their poetry to the beat poetry or jazz. Well, mine's much more related to rhythm and blues and rock and roll.
So that's the type of your poetry. When you say lyrical,
Yes.
What does that mean?
Lyrical in the sense that I'm what they call a natural poet. As opposed to studying literature in college, my poetry has always poured out of me since I was a little boy. Since I was I won my first poetry award when I was 12 years old.
12 years old.
Yes.
Who sent it out?
It was actually at the city I grew up in. I went to a school called Longfellow Elementary that was actually named after a poet. And I studied poetry even in 4th grade. And it was the library across the street had a poetry program. That's where I first did my first writing and reading, and that's where I won my award.
Then it started growing from there. What was the name of it? Do you remember?
It was called the Pegasus Poetry Award.
Wow, that sounds pretty nifty.
And that was in Pasadena, California, growing up there.
So tell us a little bit about your history, your background and so on.
Well, let's see. I lived in Los Angeles all my life until about 8 years ago. I moved to Oregon to retire with my wife. But I grew up in Pasadena, California, and then right at the beginning of high school, I moved to Hollywood and graduated from Hollywood High School. I was one of the original hippies on the Sunset Strip back in the 60s. I worked in a teenage nightclub when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
I danced on television all through high school.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, back in around the middle 60s, just before the hippie era and the summer of love, dancing was very, very popular and made popular on television by Dick Clark in Philadelphia.
I remember him.
with American Bandstand.
Yeah.
Well, in the early 60s, American Bandstand moved to Hollywood from Philadelphia, and Dick Clark broadcast there from ABC Studios, and I ended up being, got on the show by a friend in high school, and ended up being one of the regular dancers on his show. And then there was another show that was an offshoot of that with the host Casey Kasem. You might remember him
Yes,
from
I remember him.
American Top 40. And that show was called Shebang. I also danced on that show.
Did you get kind of like get to know those two different hosts? And what was the difference between the two of them?
Well, Dick Clark was much more of a businessman, and he had a big production company. He produced all kinds of shows. Casey Kasem was more, I think he was more really in tune to the rock and roll music as it was coming up, the new bands, the new groups. He introduced a lot of them on his show. And so I went from that. I actually got married right out of high school, had kids at a very young age. Then I got into stage production. Having grown up in Hollywood, it was a natural avenue for me. And I ended up behind the camera, behind the scenes, doing stage production in live theater and television for 27 years.
Wow.
And that was my career.
So you worked with a few rock and roll stars, and
absolutely.
Can you mention some names, or is that kind of like a taboo?
No, you can mention a few if you like.
Eric Clapton, that was my favorite one, and the Beatles, and there was a whole bunch of them.
Of the Beatles, I did meet one Beatle. I met Ringo Starr one time.
Right.
But met Eric Clapton a few times. We actually worked together on a musician's benefit in the late 80s, early 90s. But let's see, some of the others that I worked for were like Santana. As a matter of fact, Santana was one of the bands who used to play free in the park. In the 60s, we had, during the hippie era, we had things called love-ins or be-ins, and bands would come and play in the park on Sundays for free, even though they were well-known bands. And because Santana used to come and play at our park, it was called Griffith Park in Los Angeles. He'd play for free, and all of us would have these little drum circles that we would start, and that's kind of where a lot of the drum circles got their start.
That's how why do you use music with your poetry?
With my poetry, I think it's because I've always been part musician, part poet, and but never really a singer. But my poetry is poured out of me all my life. And so it was just kind of a natural thing for me to start using my drum rhythms with my poems. And also a lot of my poems are similar to songs. I actually have a series called Wordsongs. This is my first book.
Very first one.
My very first book. I self-published this over 20 years ago in 1992 when self-publishing was in its infancy. And so these poems I call word songs are poems that are like songs or could be songs. And so I have ended up over time putting music with my poetry and hand drums with my poetry. And so when I read, I like to perform my poems instead of just reading them.
Right, like the way you're going to be doing next.
I would like to do a poem in honor of the current struggle for gun control in our country. As long as the United States is intent on continuing in this violent, unevolved mindset, I will continue to perform this poem. I wrote this poem back in the 60s, right after my first son was born. The Vietnam War was in full force. Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King had just been assassinated, and gun control legislation was in the forefront of politics, just as it is today. Also, while I was still living in Los Angeles, I used to read this poem every year at the anniversary of John Lennon's death, at the candlelight vigil held at his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This is my anti-war and anti-gun poem from 1969, Little Toy Gun. I gave you my name, and you gave me a son. He's starting to walk, I can't wait till he'll run. We'll ride him on ponies, he'll have lots of fun. But don't ever give him a little toy gun. He'll go around shooting you, me, and a friend. But it won't be a toy gun he'll use in the end. He'll find him a real one in the armed forces. I don't want my son taking mass murder courses. So buy him creative things, not for impression. Let him develop his own self-expression. Expression is freedom, but don't get me wrong. I may not be free yet, but I'm getting strong. I have understanding of my own hang-ups. I need understanding so I can be free. And then when our son needs someone to confide in, he always can come to you, babe, or to me. Yes, I gave you my name, and you gave me a son. He's starting to walk. I can't wait till he'll run. We'll ride him on ponies. He'll have lots of fun. But don't ever give him a little toy gun. That's my anti-war poem. Picture a hopeless drug addict, isolated in his loneliness, sitting in a chair, staring out his window, dreaming about a world he cannot participate in, wishing he could find a way out, crying in his lonely desperation. This is called Chair Dreams. Sitting in my chair, staring out my window, dreaming about all the things I'm gonna do and see and be. You're gonna love me, and it's going to be the best love ever. If I could just get out of this chair and get it together. Chair dreams, take me here and there. Chair dreams, take me everywhere. Chair dreams, seem so crystal clear for a moment, but then they're gone again, and it's just another chair dream. I know I was going to have a hit song and a house in the country, sit in a rocker on my front porch with endless inspiration. I know I was going to paint my masterpiece and write a prize-winning novel, and I remember it sometimes when I'm high enough. But I just can't seem to get out of this chair, can't seem to get motivated to go anywhere. And my dream slips away to the back of my mind till another day when the right combination finds my chair dreams. Chair dreams, take me here and there. Chair dreams, take me everywhere. Chair dreams seem so crystal clear for a moment, but then they're gone again. It's just another chair dream. Sitting in my chair, staring out my window, dreaming about all the things I'm gonna be. You're gonna love me. It's gonna be the best love ever. If I could just get out of this chair and get it together. Yes, my chair dreams take me here and there. My chair dreams, they take me everywhere. Chair dreams seem so crystal clear for a moment, but then they're gone again. It's just another chair dream. Chair dreams, yes, chair dreams. They take me here and there. They take me everywhere. Chair dreams, take me out of here. Chair dreams seem so crystal clear for a moment. But then I'm gone again. And it's just another chair dream.
Very good. And that is one of your poems from
Songs
SOS.
of Sobriety, yes. So I'm working on a show of a bunch of these. This one is kind of from the first stages of recovery, when somebody's still struggling, maybe before they're willing to let somebody lend a hand, before they're willing to reach out
when
for
they're
help.
still in the chair.
Yeah, when they're still in that chair, struggling.
Thank you.
Thank you
for sharing that with us. You've written 4 books, but you actually have written, you've published for others too. Can you tell us a little bit about the books that you've written?
Okay.
Their titles and so on, and your latest one also.
So, as I said, Wordsongs was my very first book.
The first one.
And then in 2012, I took up publishing in retirement. And Wildweed is the first one I published after Wordsongs, and this was in 2012. Now, this is the only book of my books that I actually hand make myself in my studio. I use really nice paper and a little intro leaf of handmade paper on the inside. And so although Wordsongs the series is kind of like song poems, Wildweed is more a diversity of the different types of poetry I write. There's several themes in it. Themes of like the city where I grew up, the sea, the ocean, which I love, some love poems, some introspective poems, a little bit of everything in there.
And they make perfect gifts. You can carry them in your your purse or in your back pocket.
And then the next book that I published was Black Tights. Black Tights is it's kind of erotic and romantic poetry, but these are vignettes. They're like there's about 6 or 7 little stories in the book, all told in verse, of like young love and heartache and lust and all of the good stuff that has to do with that. But the book I'm promoting the most right now is Songs of Sobriety.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, Songs of Sobriety took me over 20 years to write. It's basically the journey of the first 10 years of recovery, but told in verse. So it's kind of, it takes you on the journey of the struggle to get, in my case, clean and sober, and then the foundation you get in recovery when you start to learn again about your emotions and getting your life in order and how things work for you and how you feel about things. And as you get a stronger foundation in life and your life starts to get back on track again. So this kind of chronicles that whole journey of the first 10 years in the recovery process.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
What a beautiful job.
And it's based on my experience. I have over 26 years now, clean and sober, from alcoholism and drug addiction. But basically, this book can help anybody from that's in any kind of recovery or struggling with any of life's problems. There's some inspiration in here, I think, for everyone.
And do you go out with this book and talk somewhere, read to somewhere?
I do. I started working on some performances, with my drums and music of pieces in this book, and because it's been taken so well by people, I'm now working on a 1-hour, one-man show of recovery poetry from this book that I can take into recovery centers or places where I can just perform a 1-hour show.
And where can someone get hold of you for that if they wanted to get in touch?
They could find information on my website. Always my latest information is there.
What is the name of your website?
And that is wordsongs.com, named after my first book. So it's wordsongs.com. There you go.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about I'm puzzled by the pendant you have hanging.
Oh, this is, again, a throwback to my hippie days. I actually created this symbol in 1966. And I took the symbol of the peace symbol, and put it together with the symbol for man and the symbol for woman, and I call it Peace Between Man and Woman.
Beautiful.
And it's seemed to have gained popularity recently, so I made these pendants, I've made some stickers and some t-shirts, and I'd like you to have these.
Oh,
some
thank
copies of the
you.
stickers.
This is awesome.
And also I'd like you to have a copy of my book, Songs of Sobriety, as well.
This is wonderful. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is great. I will put it and value it, and I thank you. I'll pass the word around on that too. So tell me, you host and organize poetry events.
Yeah, I do. I organize and host poetry events, and also videotape them. That's the videography part of my resume.
Okay.
I have been videotaping poetry readings, poetry performances around Oregon and California for about 3 years now. And I post them up on YouTube, and it's a way of archiving many different kinds of poetry, for future generations to see. There's a lot of great poets out there, and people are starting to embrace poetry again, I think, now.
Yeah, poetry's coming back.
Yes, and everybody loves to, to have a little bit of themselves archived. So I just found myself doing that, and now people ask me to do it, and so I've been doing it a lot.
And you have won 70 online writing competitions.
That is true.
Do you think there's any left for you to enter?
Well, I actually don't enter competitions that much anymore, because I pretty much now concentrate on creating performances for my poetry readings, and that's what I like to do. And so I spend my time recording and honing my performances. The hosting, you had asked me about the hosting poetry events. I do a lot of that as well. I do an annual event in Eugene, at the Eugene Public Library.
Is there a time of the year you do it every year? Or?
So now we're doing it later in the year. But we do a poetry workshop, a basic poetry workshop, and where anybody can learn how to write poetry.
So people can get hold of you?
Yes, and also through my website.
And it's in Eugene?
It's in Eugene every year.
Oregon?
And so we do the workshop, and then the following week we have a poetry showcase where we showcase all different types of poetry. Literary poets, performance poets, slam poets. We have all kinds of poets there.
That sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
You were also a dancer. You've been in sitcoms, TV sitcoms, game shows, soap operas, award shows. Is there anything you haven't done? I don't know, it sounds like a silly question, but...
Well, it's funny how because I grew up in LA and Hollywood, I ended up in show business and loved it, loved my career, but poetry has always been my love, and it's a thing I've done kind of in the background all my life. So I've taken to making that my priority in retirement. It's like it actually has turned into another career.
But you also you are also a publisher.
Yes, I'm working with some young poets right
amazing.
now that are very exciting. We've got such a vibrant poetry community just in Eugene, as every city in the Northwest does, I have found out. But I've been working with some wonderful young poets recently who are in their 20s, and they're excited and full of inspiration. And I recently had featured some of them at one of my events, and it just has taken on a whole life.
What's the name of your publishing?
My publishing company is called Arrowcloud Press. I'm getting ready to publish a new poet right now, and I've also published a couple of other books. I published this one here for the city of Eugene for their sesquicentennial back in 2012, an anthology that has 30 Eugene poets and 2 Eugene artists in it. And we had an event for this, which I hosted, that benefited the Eugene Public Library. And then I also published this book here called Cascadia for the Oregon Poetry Association. They put on an annual student writing contest for K-12 students every year, and I volunteered my publishing for the year 2013.
You must be a big inspirational asset to them, for the children, and for them to see what a poet is like you, and for them to become like you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope to inspire others in what I do. And I certainly enjoy doing it. And poetry is one of those things you don't really do to make money. It's probably the least money-making literary career there is as far as writers go. But it's something you do for the love of it.
Would you, would you care to, from the book you gave me, would you pick one poem that you'd like to read for me?
To read?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. This one, I do have one. This is kind of after you've been in recovery for a while and you realize that it's working in your life. You see the other people in the recovery community, which we like to call a fellowship, the fellowship of recovery. Okay. This poem's kind of about the fellowship. It's called Modern Miracles. Modern miracles walk through meeting halls, grateful to be alive. Sparkling eyes sent forth to each other for help and comfort in times of trouble. Modern miracles brought together by a common problem, bonded by a common belief. Modern miracles bringing hope through faith and spirit. Society's children shaken and stirred, once bereaved, now reprieved, live and breathe. Modern miracles.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any plans for future publications?
Yes, I mean, it's amazing as much as I'm doing and as busy as I am and all the things I have in the pan, so to speak, in the frying pan. I've got 2 books of my own I'm trying to put out this year, 2 more new books. I have enough material for 20 books. Mm-hmm. I hope to get them all out there.
Good.
Like I said, I've been writing all my life. I'm publishing a new poet coming up, and I have already ideas for 2 new anthologies, one with an artist and one with other poets. So quite a lot of publishing ideas coming up.
I liked the way these books here that you've written, the last one, I like the way you've drawn around it. Did you do that, or did you have an artist do that for you?
No, I did that. That's all my own creation.
And the music? Yeah.
That's the artist side of me. I mean, I've dabbled in art all my life, too. There's a couple of pictures of my drawings in some of my books.
Also, you're also an artist, but of course.
Here's one from one of my poems that I did in the back of Wildweed, and I actually drew this picture when I was 18, but it relates to one of the poems that's in the book, which is why I put it in this book. But I actually kind of have combined my art into my books now. It's gone into my publishing. It goes into creating my covers, creating the manuscripts, designing the font, designing the textures, everything.
What advice would you give to the poet that's just starting?
Well, my advice might be different from others. A lot of people feel you should learn the craft of poetry, learn the different formats, learn the different structures, learn the different forms, and learn how to write properly. And although that is important, although craft is important, I think that the artistic side of poetry is as important, which means the inspiration. Write what comes from your heart. Write what you feel. Write spontaneously if you can. I mean, I do a thing that I call automatic writing. It's one of those things that has poured out of me since I was a kid. I'll have poems that come right out of dreams. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll have something in my head. I can't write it down fast enough before it's gone. Or sometimes I'll do automatic writing. I will sit down at a keyboard on my computer. I will close my eyes and if you know how to type, you can do this. You have to learn how to type first. And I'll blindly type just whatever comes in my mind. And to me, that's spontaneousness. That's where a lot of inspiration comes from, the spontaneity. I would encourage the young poet to speak from their heart and try and get in touch with that spontaneity if they can. I think it's very important.
Cool. And is there any organization in Eugene where poets can gather, like once a month meeting or something, where they can basically support each other? Network?
In Eugene, oh yeah, there's several.
Lots of them?
I go to a poetry open mic every week. It's called Carry On at Cush. It's at a cafe there, and they have a wonderful, from young first-time poets all the way up to seniors, And then we have two wonderful writing organizations that are open. One is mainly a poetry organization. That is the Lane Literary Guild. They have a reading every month at the library. They sponsor wonderful poetry from all over Oregon, all over the states, actually.
Okay.
And the other organization is the Willamette Writers. They're also at least statewide. I think they're based in Portland.
Here in Portland, yes.
But we have
So
in Eugene, the chapter is called the Mid-Valley Willamette Writers.
Okay.
They have a meeting once a month, and they encourage all types of writers, novelists, fiction writers, nonfiction memoirists,
That's perfect.
poets.
That's wonderful.
I'd just like to say thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. You gave me a wonderful opportunity to be involved in the Northwest Booksellers with the book festival you do every year.
It was my pleasure. We had lots of fun.
Yeah, we did.
Awesome.
We did,
It was awesome.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to continue doing that. That's wonderful.
Okay.
And also in doing that, it enabled me to learn that type of setup. Doing that kind of book festival has helped me in doing other festivals as well.
Yeah, it's a tough one to be out in. But once you start, it's just like it keeps growing, right?
Yes, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity that you're giving authors and publishers here with this forum, and
Thank you.
and I really appreciate you having me here.
Thank you. C. Stephen Blue. I like saying that. C. Stephen Blue.
That's like
Thank you for
C.
being here. C. Stephen Blue. I like that.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you for being here. Until the next Authors Forum, have a most inspiring week. Thank you.
Hello again. I hope you enjoyed my interview on the Authors Forum, as well as my reading and performing. In my new poetry series, The Poetry Corner, coming very soon to CTV29, I will be interviewing some of our fine local poets from Eugene and Lane County, as well as showcasing some of their readings, performances, and books. The main reason I've signed on to do this series is because most people are not aware that there is a large poetry community in and around Eugene. Many diverse and renowned poets live in the Lane County area, and I would like to give broader exposure to these poets. I want to interview them and support their work by showcasing their talents and books, as well as their performing skills. As a videographer, I've had the pleasure of videotaping many prominent poets over the last few years, and I will be featuring some of those video clips as well during the series. As I stated earlier, I'm also an organizer and host of poetry events in Eugene. Among them are the annual poetry workshop and poetry showcase at the Eugene Public Library. We will be celebrating our 4th year this coming October. I also organize and host the poetry stage at the Festival of Eugene, which started last year and will continue again this year, with 3 full days of fun and entertainment, featuring all local talent on the river at Skinner Butte Park. The Festival of Eugene is a fun-filled, family-friendly, and completely local event, a weekend full of music, dancing, theater, and poetry, as well as craft vendors, a health fair, a car show, and a barbecue cook-off, all coming this summer on August 21st through 23rd. For more information, go to festivalofeugene.com. And as if this were not enough, all of this, to keep me busy, I am also a publisher. I've published the work of other poets, as well as books for the City of Eugene and the Oregon Poetry Association. For more information on me and what I do, please visit my website, www.wordsongs.com. That's www.wordsongs.com. I hope you will join me for my new series, The Poetry Corner, coming soon to CTV29. And right now, stay tuned for a couple of bonus performance pieces of me performing poems from my newest book, Songs of Sobriety. Thank you.
Okay, so, as I've said before, I'm working on a one-hour show in support of my book, Songs of Sobriety, about recovery. So I just want you to know that this isn't about you. This is about me. Because it doesn't matter to me what other people do as far as drinking and using drugs. It only matters what I do. That's what I'm concerned with. So you can do whatever you want. I don't care. What you do is your business, and I'm not judging. Okay? This is a piece from my show that I'm just started working on, so here we go. Standing here at the edge of the bar, wine glass in my hand. My eyes are red, and you can see their sadness, but I just don't understand. Why won't you come over and talk to me? I want to be a part of you. You all seem so happy, but I just don't know what to do. I got these silent, withdrawn, barroom blues again. Don't know how I can go on anymore. I think it's the end. Yes, I got these silent, withdrawn, barroom blues once again. And no matter what happens, it seems like I just can't win. Why am I here alone at the end of the bar? Think I'll have another shot. Then maybe you'll think I'm good enough. 'Cause I sure want what you've got. Why can't I just quit this drinking and get on with my life? Where is mine? Where is she? And why is everything so screwed up in my life? I got these silent, withdrawn, barroom blues again. Don't know how I can go on anymore. I think it's the end. Yes, I got these silent, withdrawn, up. I've been here so many times before. I think I'll just drink till I black out in the back of my car.
Amen.
It won't matter or hurt anymore. Barroom blues. No, I just can't win. This poem is based on an actual event that happened to me at about 6 months sober. I wrote the poem right after it occurred. 3:44. It's 3:44, and the dealer's knocking at my door. Go away, please, now, and set my mind at ease. I've felt that pain many times before. I don't want to feel it anymore. So go away, please, dealer, leave me alone. Lord, help me. Don't let me answer. I'm so vulnerable right now. I want to shut out the pain inside, and the dealer knows just how. Please, oh God, make the knocking go away. I like the way I feel life now. It's getting better day by day. I feel so alone right now. Stay by my side. That old pain came back today. I broke down and cried. Tears welled up in me. Resentments were felt. But it's still not as bad as when the dealer dealt. So help me walk through this pain once more, so I won't have to wake up with my face on the floor. It's 3:44, and the dealer's knocking at my door. Go away, please, and set my mind at ease. I don't want to score. I don't want to be sore. I don't want you no more, for sure. And it's 3:44. This one is called Oh Big Sky. Oh big sky, are you watching over me? Shall I say what I feel is real today? Will they listen to me now? Will it matter anyhow? What shall I do for my soul? Do you think you are a master? Do you practice what you preach? What is it you teach? Do you show us how to love each other with more feeling every day? Are you helping anyone with more feeling, as you say? Oh, inspiration, are you watching over me? Shall I say, what I feel is real today? Will they listen to me now? Will it matter anyhow? What shall I do for my soul? If you want to start somewhere, then start by being true. Because if you ain't true, then we'll find somebody new. Now maybe you can help us all with what it is you preach. But please don't say you know it all. There's always more to teach. Oh, big sky, are you watching over me? Shall I say, what I feel is real today? Will they listen to me now? Will it matter anyhow? What shall I do for my soul? Oh, big sky. Thank you. I'd like to do the title poem from my new chapbook, Wildweed. My stuff is rough. It's bare bones. I hate to answer telephones. I want to look you in the eyes when we speak. But it ain't no use in this fast-paced world to ride a horse or court a girl. If you take your time to get there, she's just moved on. And what becomes of the alley cat on the night of the hard driving rain, when the lightning speaks loud and everyone crowds in the shelter of warm window panes? I live my life in a pot-bellied stove. I'm an oak tree with ages to tell. I'm the earthquake commander, a green salamander, a salesman with nothing to sell. But did you see me on the night of the new, when everything changed in an instant? The air was so clean and the grass was so green that a new age did not seem so distant. In the quiet, an angel calls, awakened by the engine stalls of the inner city, pondering its sleep. The dream is a draftsman, a hill-dwelling craftsman, a step in a puddle on the road to forever, and life is a boat in a great castle moat. We all circle yet must row together. Now is then, and yesterday's tomorrow. But how can we live it like we mean it, when we're running so fast that the race cannot last, and the space in between lies unseen? Or is that to lay in a meadow and ponder the meaning of the wild blue yonder, the stars at night or a daffodil? The momentum is great as it rolls down the hill of imagination gone
down to seed. I'm a wildweed. Why do I feel so safe in the rain and long to sit behind waterfalls? I gaze at blue crystal, I tell tattered tales, and listen when eternity calls. Maybe this just goes on and on, or maybe the hunger can't fathom the dawn. It's the spark in the dark behind your eyes. When you sleep, just the moment, and then it is gone, and you weep. Sheltering skies pour forth from your eyes and germinate the seed of my fast-growing need. I'm a wildweed. Yes, I'm a wildweed. Thank you very much.
Go on.
This is a science fiction epic poem
All right.
called The Blaster.
Break it up.
You bathe in the depths of the sea as the blaster plays his reverie. Deeper and deeper you go to escape the sound of a drowning planet. Forever holding your breath, great upheaval seems so near. Are you a dreamer? Is this your own world? You can't even remember how you got here, but the changes you are experiencing seem so real. The coolness of the water, the shortness of your breath, the tears you've cried forevermore in this never-ending death. Has the bringer of false promises finally stumbled? How many ideas with strong foundations have crumbled? But no outward appearances seem familiar here, except for the sound of the blaster. Because you remember where it's taken him.
Yeah, rock and roll.
The music that is his master. And the blaster plays disaster music. Life after the Holocaust. The blaster plays disaster music. Life after time stood still. Sinking deeper, you try to hold fast to the truth. You think about what you would say if you could speak to this world. Are you open to the unfamiliar? Don't you know that everything changes? The only thing that remains unchanged is God. Myriad opportunities called you, but the goal is beyond your grasp. For you have forgotten how to learn. And now the price of wisdom is death and resurrection. Is this a dirty trick someone has played on you? Maybe you're lost in virtual reality, but it seems so true. And on a clear day, you can see forever Whose life is this anyway? You approach a house to get a better view. And you see candelabras like diamonds shimmering through the windows. Coals, the color of Mars, glow in the fireplace. Stairways to forever reveal multi-layered cubicles. And the ceiling disappears into the stars. But then the blaster plays disaster music. Life after apocalypse. Introspective guitar riffs. Sparks thrown in the air. The blaster plays disaster music. Life after apocalypse. Introspective guitar riffs. Travel on and on. The cold wind blows, takes you where it will, turns you like a windmill. But only your word travels really break away from gravity. Can't live in this cubicle no more. The earth is my home. Gotta stomp on the terra. Gotta roam. But you can use me to spread some energy. Am I the blaster? The blaster plays disaster music. Life after apocalypse. Introspective guitar riffs. Sparks thrown in the air. The blaster plays disaster music. Life after apocalypse. Introspective guitar riffs. Travel on and on. And on and on and on. 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 Thank you.
Can you do a last call?